I'm here today to talk about my book called Survivor the Escape. This is the second edition of this book, and the reason why I had to republish is because the first edition wasn't to my suit. I'm really grateful for the person who started me on this journey. However, because I need my brand to be outstanding, that's the reason why I went for a second reprint. Now, my book is about integrity and transparency. One may ask, what's that? I have a tendency or a personality which is to be straight, just get to the point. Many might not appreciate the fact that I'm a person who just tell it as it is because it might seem me as intimidating. However, I do think God had called me or give me this strength and the grace, to talk about, the things that others may feel a little bit shy or feel uncomfortable to deal with. In my life, I've written, or I wouldn't say written, my life has caused me to want to write the things that happened to me. And through it all, getting to that point that I can verbally express myself, it's like a deliverance for me. It's a whole newness, something that not every individual in this life may find themselves in that position to do. But for me, it's like I've been relieved, feel myself like I can fly again. Yes, people might ask, writing this book, how does it bring healing to you? Well, it brings healing in the sense of, I've been able to express myself in a deeper sense, on a different level that, talking to an individual face to face on a daily basis, or want to talk about the things that I've gone through, but didn't know how to bring it across. So in writing this book, it gives me the opportunity to do so on a level of transparency that one can identify with my story. Maybe something that they have gone through in their life, or they may know someone who has had these encounters. Looking back in my life and what I've talked about, in the first chapter of my book, I wrote about the verbal, the emotional, physical, psychological, and mental abuse that I've gone through. People might look at me today and they said, you don't look like someone who had gone through such terrible time. Yes, I have, but you know what? God promised that He will beautify the meek with salvation. And it's not because how great I am, how good I am, but it's because of the grace of God, that kept me mentally intact for, all these years that I've gone through, being able to write as open and transparently as I have done. And it's only to connect with my reader, because many people have gone through the stuff that I've talked about in my book, but they don't know how to talk about it because they may feel shame. And remember this lady when she read my book, and we had a falling out, and in return, instead she tried to show a human side of her. She then gave me the wicked tongue that God had put in her mouth, not to abuse or to bring down anybody, but that's what she had used her tongue to do, to make me know, oh, you have embarrassed your family, and you haven't made money. Yeah, in her own, you know, what I would call it, from her standpoint of view, that's what she think. But I'm here to bring, healing, deliverance, and to expose that those things that people are, you know, feel as if they're in a prison today, don't know how to talk about it, don't know how to let it go. And with my book, I hope will give them, the strength, will inspire, will motivate, will encourage and empower someone, to come bravely, openly and talk about the stuff that they've gone through. Now, one may ask, how did you feel when writing, these stuffs, exposing the most intimate and personal side of your life? Well, I would say I did cry throughout the first manuscript. I didn't know how to put it on paper, in a way that it would be, we'd call it political correct. Yeah, you don't want to use certain words because you don't want people to look at you, to label you, for you to feel like, oh, I'm giving away everything that happened to me. But looking back, I remember I've, gone to a women's meeting one evening, and, during that time, sharing with the group, this woman, she ran out. And I thought, my God, what did I say? Am I saying something to offend her? Have I, what's happening? During the intermission of the session, I went outside and I asked her, you sure you all right? And she said, yes. She said, everything that you're talking about in that book, it's me. It's me. It's me. So there and then, I know what? I have connect with someone. And, when I walk away, I said to myself, Lord, you knew why you had allowed me to write in this manner. There are people out there that need to hear this story. There are families that abuse children. Oh, and all these things were happening to me. I didn't know they were called abuse. I thought they were just a norm. From a ethnicity that, these things happen in families. You just thought, oh, it's a norm. Just get on with it. You know, is either you love it or you lump it. These young people would say. But for me, I come to realize that abuse need to be exposed. It's not to be tolerated. It's not acceptable, and no one should go through it and go through it alone. So my advice, if anyone out there may be hearing me talking about this book and what I've gone through, get brave and talk about it. Because you know what? If you don't, you're going to feel like you're being locked in a prison all the days of your life until you expose and talk about those horrific moments, those stuffs that had happened to you, that you can't talk to your family, you can't talk to your friend, but you got to get to that stage that you're willing to open up and to share. Might be not as brave as me, but if you start at some point, that's your journey to healing. During those times, when I was going through as a little girl, I felt fearful, living in a controlled atmosphere. I didn't feel safe. When I said controlled atmospheres, like, yes, my daddy did control the environment, especially when he comes home from work and not finding things to his suit. I tell you, the quarreling, then it get from one stage to the other, then it becomes physical. How can a child live in such an environment? Yeah, looking back, my parents did know better. My daddy did know better. I realized that it's not everybody that encounter abuse or live in an environment such as an abusive environment like mine, what I've come out of, that I've talked about in chapter 1. They go on to live stable lives, to make good choices. So it's all down to the individual. If they want to do good, if they want to make good choices, it's up to them. But, there are certain stuffs that happened to me that I talked about, and I could never get deliverance in. And I remember when I started writing this book, yes, I was, in my 40s, over 40s. And I said, my God, so many years before I'm going to get deliverance, how this is going to happen. Yes, even if people want to introduce counseling to me, I don't think counseling would ever help me. Because sitting before someone and trying to, burp out or belch out, if you want to, say it in a more diplomatic way, talk out your problem, it's not easy. But I find out, being in a room by yourself and writing, that freedom that you have to express yourself, with no intimidation, no fear, no opposition. It's great. Yes, I did cry. I wept. And they tell you after crying, I did feel a sense of relief. I remember one section of my book where I talked about, after, going through the mental torture at home, watching my parents, beating up on each other. And I, said to myself, oh my God, all this fighting and quarreling, it caused an emotional disturbance within me. Then, running from my parents' house, trying to get to, families to see if, I can relieve myself. I thought that would be an escape route, but no, it wasn't. In the quietness or in the secret of my, other relatives' home, there are things going on, what they're doing to us. And sadly, my dad was part of it. I never forget one day my dad, in my hearing, he said to my auntie, this auntie, she's a wealthy woman, and he would look at her, and said to her, use them. That's us children he's talking, because from one sister, to another of mine would go to our house because she's wealthy. She can give us things that we need. We'll think, oh, auntie doing us a favor, only if we'll wash her clothes. Talking about washing clothes, I'll never forget. Yeah. I used to get her white blouse to wash because the type of job that she used, one of those top class job she's in, and her shirts has to be spotless, white. I mean, clean white, no spot, no stain. And I don't know what happened. One Saturday morning after I washed those blouses, she angrily pulled them from the line, chucked them in the dirt, and called me to take them up and wash them again. I saw that as abuse. Washing them, yes, but guess what? I was given the laundry powder to use with my hands and wash. I remember one stage of my life that my hands started to become discolored. Yeah, that auntie, she was so evil. She was so cruel. And of course, my dad was behind that. He gave her the go ahead. He sided with her. Yeah, for her to abuse us as children. What could one say? We were young. We didn't know much better. We didn't have anyone to report to. It's not like in this country, a whole lot of agency that people can make reference to. Yeah, you can be signposted of one agency to another. If it's this not one can help you, then the other one pass on your information. Not in my country that I came from. Whatever happened in the home, stay in the home, or else. You know what that or else is about. A fine whopping. Yeah, things that these children nowadays will call abuse. Oh, the strap. Not all times we get the strap. Oh, yes. We will get the shoes. Yeah, my dad would even go to the tree and break off the limb of the tree and use it on us, not to mention the O's. Yeah, the slippers. Anything of sort they catch. That's what they used to beat us as children. The home life was so terrible. It was unbearable. I used to think that school was an escape route, to get out of this horrible turmoil, this violent environment. But guess what? It didn't do me any good, because guess what? Going to school, oh my God, I tell you, one girl within the community as if she came from hell. I tell you, I named the chapter Hell on the Inside, Hell on the Outside. What was going on indoors? Oh my God, that wasn't enough. Then the enemy started, and this girl in my community, she would beat me on the way to school. If she sees me, or if that misses me, guess what? Coming home, I will definitely get a good walloping. I tell you, it happened day after day, weeks after weeks, months after months. But one brother of mine, he was determined to take this girl on. But let me tell you, she did step back and cool off, and I had that breathing space, but not for long, until the devil in her changes her course. Guess what? I was in my almond tree one day, and that girl decided to come into my own yard to beat me. When she started calling me names and she realized that, it's no effect, let me try another way out to see if I can gain her attention. She started stoning me out of my own almond tree. I said to myself, this must be the devil. This must be the devil from hell, and today it is going to stop. And guess what? That day, it was the day that I put that giant to rest. Maybe not everybody will agree with me that to become physical, some people might say, oh, it's violence. Oh, you're introducing violence to children. It's either you go on taking the beating. Some people end up committing suicide, but I didn't ready to die, and I wouldn't let that girl end my life. So I had to choose life, and I choose to confront my giant. I was like David and she was like Goliath. And I did determine that day, girl, it's either you or me. And guess what? If you want to know how the end of that story goes, you can buy the book at excelibrispublishing.co.uk or visit amazon.co.uk and you can download your copy. Thank you.